So, welcome to the newest episode of RocklandSound, where rock meets Rockland, and Rockland meets Austin, where I am in Texas. We have an amazing guest today, Mr. Geoff Downs, legend from the Buggles. And I watched that first intro to MTV the day that actually played.
Wow.
I saw it.
1st of August, 1981. Yeah.
Yep. And I was there, a little kid, watching it.
Wow.
Also, a legendary band, yes, and also Asia, which you've been in the whole way through, right?
Yep.
And
Nice.
band I love to death, all three of them. Okay. You do happen to have a project that you work on with Chris Braids called the DBA, Down Braids Association. We'll get into that. One of the questions that I like to ask, and we ask all our guests, and they seem to enjoy the question, because we all started somewhere with our love for music, you know? And so what is the, obviously we can go into your influences, and that's a question you get asked a lot. Everybody does, but what is that first album that made you have to go out and get with your own money?
I think the very first album I went out to get was Picture Disc, Curved Air.
Of whom? I'm sorry.
Curved Air.
Okay.
It was the very first picture disc, and I remember it having to queue up at the record store to get it. And that must have been about 68, something like that.
Okay.
And then I was into a lot of the British prog music at the time, like the Canterbury bands like Caravan, Soft Machine, kind of more eclectic sort of bands. But I graduated on and I started to buy Yes albums as well, and that was almost like a full circle when I joined them about 11 or 12 years later.
And you're currently a member now.
Yes, indeed. I rejoined in 2011, so almost to the day I've been there for 10 years.
There you go. And I know that there was supposed to be a tour where you guys played Drama and a couple of the albums in full, right? And then all this stuff happened.
Yeah, well, we've been doing that for probably most of the time I've been in rejoined. Yes, we've been doing full album series, so it's been very interesting for me to go back and look at the albums that I obviously wasn't involved in, but to see how they put them all together, and things like Close to the Edge and Tales from Topographic Oceans and all that wild stuff, that Yes were famous for.
Those are great albums, but when you first get into them, especially growing up, I was more of a hard rock guy right away. I got into my first album I bought was Clean the Game, with a crazy little thing called Love and Another One Bites the Dust. I used to go to the roller rink, and Another One Bites the Dust was the big hit. We'd all run out and go roller skate.
Yeah.
But when you go and because I'm a musician myself, so you start searching through bands out there that obviously it was like, for me, it was Owner a Lonely Heart I went and got into first. That probably got me into looking at Yes, and then I dug back deeper, and you hit like Tales from Topographic Oceans and things, and you got to go and do some work, because that's a for the first time you get hit with that album, that's a hard listen. But if you go into it, you find the beauty in the layers and layers and layers of it. So.
Well, that's what happened to me, really, because I wasn't totally familiar, because by that time I'd sort of, moved on to different music, and I was into a lot of jazz rock and Chick Corea and keyboard players like Herbie Hancock. So I'd sort of moved away from Yes in that mid-70s period, and it was quite fascinating going back there and looking at how, all those intricate parts that they put together that Yes became famous for. It was really a bit of a learning curve, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, here's one thing I was thinking about when I was watching some of your shows and stuff, and I was thinking to myself, there's a lot of like concerts you can watch where somebody could just be like running around, throwing their guitar around or doing something, pointing up to the crowd. And I was thinking, if you get distracted playing a song like a Yes song,
well, that's
where are you, right?
I think that's one of the reasons why that Yes was never a band to be throwing shapes. It wasn't that one. It's not that kind of a band.
Right.
I think much more of a musician's band where you get on with your job and you let all the lights and the staging and that
Mm-hmm. Do
attract
it
the
work.
visuals.
Well, I saw an interview with Billy Joel where he's talking about, and he does. He had been doing in the last, I guess, about maybe a decade, where he does his once a month Madison Square Garden show, and then
Yeah,
only hits a couple big cities in during the year instead of touring, like full time. But
yeah.
I asked him about doing like how many times can you sing like Big Shot or something, and he's like. And he's talking about while he's singing some of these songs, he's thinking about, I want to eat a burger later. I'm going to order Coke.
Yeah, yeah. Funny enough, I was a few years ago. We were doing a show in New York, but my wife was over with us, and she got a ticket to see Billy Joel's 100th Madison Square Garden show, which was. She said it was an amazing night. Bruce Springsteen came on stage, and New
Yeah, that's
Jersey boy.
well.
Very,
We're initially from New Jersey, my wife and I, and my stepdaughter is a huge Billy Joel fan. Even now she's only 22, but she was like 16, and we went out and got we got tickets, but then we decided that we were gonna move out here. So I bowed out of it and let my sister-in-law and my daughter and my wife go, and they had a girls' night out in Madison Square Garden. Seeing
wow, yeah. I'd
we
have loved to have gone. I'd have loved to have gone, but we had a show that night, so I couldn't do it, which is a shame.
well, we framed the album for her, one of his albums for her, and put the ticket in the front of the album. And we were
Yeah,
like, "Go, look at that!" And she started crying and everything, and she was like, "Oh my god!" So
yeah. And doesn't he ask the audience if they want any specific request, doesn't he? And then he
he
moves some
does a
people
couple
to the
times
right.
during the show, has a window there that's open.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he actually, from what she told me, he went into some of the deeper cuts. He didn't just sit there and do a greatest hits straight
yeah.
set. He went a little bit deeper there though.
No, I
Um,
think that's nice. I think that's nice to the audience because we do that with Yes. We
mm,
don't play the obvious tracks. I mean, obviously things like Roundabout.
long
You
distance.
can't really get away with not playing Roundabout. But certainly, some of the albums which are not, some of the cuts are not that familiar. We By doing the album series, we actually did the whole album. So some of
Mm,
those tracks that had never been played live before,
that's,
we attempted.
yeah, I love stuff like that. That you want to go down in there, and sometimes, you know, I mean, people like sometimes like to think the best song is the song that was on the radio.
Yeah,
It's
of course.
not necessarily the case. Um, they all may be good songs, but sometimes there's that deep track in there. And especially in like Yes's case, you may have one of those long songs that
Yeah,
probably wouldn't fit in a normal concert because it's 20 minutes long or a side of a
yeah.
record.
I think when the 80s, when 90125 came out, they had "Ode of a Lonely Heart." It was much more mainstream, obviously. So I think that people would be buying that track as much as buying Journey or a
Right.
Foreigner song. You know what I mean? So they were part of that mainstream thing. But
Mhm.
I think as people bought that album and got into it, and then they started to go back, like you were saying,
Mhm.
they start to realise what a rich seam of music is there.
Well, you could go back and listen to, everybody thinks Journey started with Steve Perry. Well, that band came out of Santana, and there's 3 albums there where Greg Rowley is the one singing some of the songs on it. It's a prog rock band, and some of those albums are amazing. They opened, the song "Carry On Wayward Son" from
Yeah,
Kansas. That was actually that riff. That riff was they opened for Journey. That riff was a Journey song,
really?
and they
Wow.
clipped it.
Did they ever get credited for
I don't know, but
it?
they don't care. It's on the box set of.
Yeah,
It's on one of their albums. You can hear it.
right.
But they were like, no, they opened up for us, and then we saw them later, and
Yeah,
they were like, oh wait, there's that song. Wait, that's our song. It doesn't sound anything like it other than the guitar part for a minute.
yeah. I
And
don't. I don't think they need the royalties. I think they'd be fine.
yeah, no, I think they're doing all right. when "Don't Stop Believing" has like a billion streams or something.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Let's get into the Downs Braid Association. Okay, I'm not super familiar with Chris, though I have been listening to the albums.
yeah,
Um, and I know he's a producer. Yes,
yeah.
he's
Songwriter. Yeah.
a songwriter and musician. So you tell the story because I have it in front of me, but it'll probably be a lot more interesting coming from a person that's actually part of it.
Well, I think about so going back about 10 years now. I was doing a show with Trevor Horn.
Hmm.
We did a Buggles reunion show, uh, and Chris was working with Trevor on a project called The Producers,
Um,
and and I met Chris, and just just after meeting him, he said, he was a big fan of the Buggles, and said, I'd love to do some writing with you one day. Well, at that time, it just so happened that he was moving to Los Angeles, um, and I was working on the Fly From Here album with Yes at the same time. So we got together in LA and started writing these songs, and uh, realized that we had a great rapport with each other. And I think that we did that one album, the first album, in 2012, and
mhm.
then we've done. This is actually the Halcyon Hymns is actually the fourth album
Mhm.
that we've done together, and a lot of it's been working remotely. Chris has been very much tied up in LA with writing for people like Christina Aguilera and
Right.
Beyonce and Lana Del Rey. A lot of these sort of frontline mainstream artists in the pop field more so, but. But he was a big fan of progressive rock music too. So I think I kind of started out in that world with the Buggles. We were
Mhm.
quite sort of pop orientated thing, and then moved into the progressive world. And I
What,
think, in a way, Chris has done the same kind of thing. Is that he wanted to see this as something that is very very close to him.
mhm. One quick question, because I know that there's certain in different countries, and you're in the UK right now, or yes, or are you in America at the moment?
I know I'm in the UK.
Okay, in the UK. I
Actually,
remember we set it for 4 o'clock your time. Uh,
yes, indeed, yeah,
um,
yeah, afternoon.
does the Buggles mean anything? And like, is it a slang thing over there, or how did you get the name for that, real quick?
Well, we started off. Both Trevor and myself were producers and session men.
Hmm.
This is gone when I graduated from music college in the north of England and moved to London, uh, and got into doing session work. And it was a very tight community, really, because it wasn't like there were thousands of people. It was
Right.
really quite close knit. So I got to know Trevor, and we started to work together. We were working on with a disco singer at the time,
Oh,
and
what was
uh,
that age?
and that was Tina Charles. So, but I think both Trevor and I were big Yes fans as well, and that was our means to an end was really the Buggles, and we knew we had a great song in Video Kid the Radio Star, uh, so we kind of carried on with that. The Buggles was really it was a little in joke, really. It was like these little sort of studio guys who'd never go out and play live, and
Yeah. So it
that
had a
was the
little
idea behind it.
meeting between you guys.
Yeah, little geeky guys in the studio, And I think that that was just something that fascinated us was really getting into the technology,
Hmm.
uh, and really trying to push the boundaries of what we could do in the studio.
Okay. Now, going back to Down's Braid, "Love Among the Ruins" is the single that's out.
Yeah,
That is on RocklandSound.com on our Facebook page, currently. So we're promoting that,
great.
with also with a little promo kit that was sent over to me. I think that had some more information about the album, and we'll keep putting it up there.
Great.
Now, I noticed that it said you have a live album, but it doesn't. But it sounds more like you're a studio project overall. Uh,
Well, I think so. I think that when we started out, it was very much just us and a drum machine and
mhm.
just kind of techno sort of pop, And I think that when as the albums have progressed, we started to incorporate other musicians. So, for instance, the last album we had. Uh, uh, Kate from B-52s.
Oh,
We've had guys from a lot of the progressive bands in the UK. Probably not that particularly well known in America, but we've sort of expanded our sound really. And I think that when we released the last album, we felt it would be nice to do some shows, and so we did a couple of shows in the UK at this very sort of small, intimate venue, and we wanted to record it. So it gave us a taste, really, to to take it out live. It wasn't, it was not so much a studio project. It was
mhm.
more something that we felt we could expand upon.
Well, that's good. I mean, one of the things that's special about that is, and I don't mean the word is wrong. So if you're working in the studio and stuff, and maybe say, especially with something like a Pro Tools, you could be where you are and he could be where he is, and you can still make a record. But
Yeah,
when you sit there and you finally put that human element to it, like at a show, you find the more layers to those songs, and the certain parts of meaning can come out and attach themselves to those, that work. And I think that's
yeah,
something that's special about being live.
yeah. I think music is very important. I mean, it's really unfortunate with the pandemic that
Mhm.
the live music scene's really taken a big hit, and we had a couple.
How bad is it over there? If you don't mind, I don't mean to interrupt you. How?
It's not great. I think that all the venues are closed.
Mhm.
Or even pubs and places where semi-professional musicians ply their trade, or in orchestras and that kind of thing. They've not been able to work, so it's been very, very tough. Uh, Hopefully, with the vaccination program that we've got here, which is pretty active at the moment,
Mhm.
it will start to ease off. But at the moment, it's still very, very restricted for what people can do.
See, we're here in Texas, and we're relatively open, and the
Yeah.
cases are going down. We actually lead the country, though, in the vaccination, for states. My wife actually works in a hospital.
All right. Okay.
She runs a food and beverage and dietary in the hospital, but they've had it for at least over a month and a half, I would think, the vaccine there. But we have shows. We have bars open and things.
Right.
Um, since maybe well, we opened up real loose in July, and like right around the 4th of July here,
Yeah.
and, and then it kind of picked up because everybody got together.
Yeah.
Didn't I think everybody was so locked up that everybody went woohoo and just went out.
Yeah, that's what happened here last summer. They started to ease the restrictions, and of course, everyone went crazy
Right.
uh, because they've been locked up. No, I'm not locked up, but not
Yeah.
able to do a lot for 3 or 4 months. So everyone just went nuts, and then of course the numbers all started to go up again. So
Well,
it's a
we
tough
have
time.
we have bars and things are open. It's not like you can't fill the restaurant. It might be half capacity or whatever to keep the distance. And they'll do like a lot of places built like an outdoor patio to be kind of outside, but
Yeah,
there is bands playing, and we have a couple arenas. We have one out here called the HEB Center, probably holds about 7,000 8,000 people, and they
yeah,
were doing. They had their first indoor concert the other day, but they
right,
were doing it in the parking lot.
right, okay,
So you buy like for you get take 4 people $100, and you get 2 parking spots, and they were able to get 6,000 people
wow,
in a parking lot there, and
wow.
that's a bigger crowd than you were getting inside. And
Yeah, but I suppose the thing is that it's possible in some places where you've got the space, but I mean, I imagine in New York City, for instance,
yeah,
you know, it's where everyone is normally so close
oh yeah,
together. Everyone's you
mhm,
walk around Times Square and you can't move.
yep,
So I imagine with because Broadway's been closed for a long time now, hasn't it? The
mhm.
theatres on Broadway,
Yeah.
so
Well,
it's got to be.
that's where Tom is. If you heard the intro when I say Rockland, he's in Rockland County, New York, about the
Right.
20 miles outside of New York City, and
And
they
what
have
right,
a
and
little
what
bit of
direction?
stuff open, but not a lot.
Yeah, but it's tough. I mean, think of all the musicians and the actors on Broadway who,
Yeah,
rely on that as their living. It's very tough.
well, that's one of the reasons why we actually created the podcast. Tom and I are actually old bandmates. He's a
Right. Okay.
drummer, and I'm a vocalist, songwriter, guitar player, etc. And
Okay.
we started talking on Zoom just to kind of see each other, have some interaction that way, instead of just talking on the phone or whatever. And it just popped at him, like, we were just talking about how we can't play.
Yeah.
And,
I know.
and we said, well, maybe we could do something and promote the music of the people we love
It's great.
and their art and get it out there while it's happening. And all of a sudden, we're doing really well, and and talking to great people like you, and
Great.
having that
That's
honor,
really
and
cool. Brilliant.
people seem to really enjoy it. So
Yeah,
I
that's
really,
great.
once
That's
again,
great.
appreciate you being here. I know. Well, I was initially given like about a 20-minute time limit,
Yeah.
which we're right around right now. So
We can stretch it another 10 minutes if you want.
okay, we'll do another 10 minutes. Now,
Yeah.
any plans as far as a new album by Yes? Or I know Arc of Life is the other members have
Yeah.
a side project, which I think I'm going to be interviewing Billy at some point. Um,
Yeah. I think that's coming out in a week or so.
mhm.
Uh, I think it's great that that's really the only option we've got open to us at the moment is to get in and do some work and do some projects. Because
Well, you know what? If people are locked down, you have nobody has an excuse to make a bad record.
well, that's what they say. Yeah. Well, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, going back to Yes, it's been it's been difficult because obviously we're sort of half American, half British band, so
Mhm.
we're all sort of scattered all over the place. Uh, so it's been difficult to try and communicate, but in the same way, we've been exchanging ideas and that sort of thing. So hopefully, when things ease down a bit, we can actually start getting together and start putting some solid stuff together.
Yeah, well, I'd be looking forward to it. I actually think I don't honestly think that the last maybe 5 or 6 Yes albums, I think they've all been very strong. Um, there was a you had you 90. See, every time I say it, I want to say the show. 90215, is that what it
Nine
was?
oh one two five. Yeah.
90125. Sorry. And I listen to the album all the time. And then
I mean, that's
they ended up having Union, where it was like the whole, like almost everybody that kind of came back to some degree, and made that. But then when you got to like a few albums down, you got to the ladder and things and kept going. It seemed to go backwards to more creative, instrumentally creative, um, more proggy kind of songs that I really enjoyed.
yeah. I think this. The thing with Yes is that it's really defined by whoever's in it at the time. So the influences are obviously changing.
Right.
Well, I mean, as you probably know, we sadly lost Chris Squire
Yeah.
about 5 years ago, which was
Amazing bass
it
player.
was a real blow for the band. I think that because Chris had been there from the very beginning,
Mhm.
and he was really the kind of kingpin that had been through all the different versions, all the generations of Yes. So that was tough for us. But I think that you know the times that I spoke to him prior to that, he always said that Yes music should go on for as long as possible. So I think that was one of the reasons why we decided to carry on, and that's when Billy came in, who was recommended by Chris, and we've been working on it ever since. I think it's
Yeah.
the next album we put out will be reflective for the first time, I think, of who's in this lineup. I mean, uh, we've had live albums and things like that in the past, but it's a great band. I mean, I'm privileged to be a part of it because they really they're really great players, and it's just fabulous to be part of it.
And I feel privileged that you're still around making new music. Um, you can live off the classics, obviously, but you're a musician, and you want to be creative, and I'm glad you're still doing that.
Yeah, I think the fans appreciate it too because I think that they've seen. a zillion versions of Roundabout from Yes. They've seen a zillion versions of, you know, And You and I and all these Close to the Edge. I think that when, they come and see the band, they have a couple, some new material in there. It's very refreshing for them as much as it is for the members of the band.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the beauty about music is that you don't have to get your retirement plan unless you want it. Keep
Well, I don't think any of us want to retire. We
right.
might, unless someone says we got to retire. I think we all, when music's in your blood, you just got to keep on going.
That's right. Keep it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up. The Downs Braid Association is the band. Halcyon Hymns is the album. Love Among the Ruins would be the single. We had a great time here, I hope. I did. Speaking
Brilliant.
of the legendary artist, Geoff Downs, and really appreciate your time
Thank you.
and enjoying the music. I'm discovering DBA,
Great.
Downs Braid Association, and I'm enjoying that as well as the music you've made enriched our lives for decades now.
Right. Well, let's hope it continues.
Yes, and hopefully we can have you back on Rockland Sound when Yes does some music or comes around, and we'll go from there.
Okay, lovely.
All right, I
All right.
appreciate your time.
Nice to chat to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview.
I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Bye now. Bye.